They built an empire that withstood revolutions, wars, and economic collapses. While 99% of families lose their fortune within 3 generations, the Rothschilds continue to grow richer. But what do they know that the rest of the world doesn't? Today, we will reveal the 7 forbidden rules that this family has followed for over 300 years, and that may hold the key to understanding how they continue to dominate the highest circles of global financial power. These rules are so powerful that you'll probably never hear about them in universities or business schools, and the worst part? If you try to use them today, the system has already been set up to ensure that only they can master it. Control the system, not the assets. While you invest in gold, stocks, and other tangible assets, the Rothschilds' true strategy has always been to control the global financial system. They didn't need to own the gold, they controlled the central banks. Nathan Rothschild, for example, said, "Give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes its laws." When Nathan made a colossal fortune after the Battle of Waterloo, it wasn't just by buying land or precious metals, but by manipulating the banking system to his own advantage. Real wealth lies in controlling the financial system. This rule became clear when the Rothschilds founded the Bank of England in 1694, which quickly became one of the most powerful in the world. They weren't just creating a financial institution, they were building the foundation of a financial empire that would last for centuries. Instead of focusing on acquiring tangible assets like most investors, they focused on controlling global financial flows, such as international trade and the monetary policies of different countries. For the Rothschilds, controlling the system ultimately means controlling wealth. They used their control over the banking system to influence political and economic decisions, allowing them to thrive regardless of crises and recessions. While governments made crucial financial decisions, the Rothschilds were always ready to manipulate those decisions in their favor. Over the years, the Rothschilds' control over financial systems expanded to central banks around the world. Their influence became so strong that, over several generations, they became key players in the economic decision-making process in various nations. They understood something vital that many ordinary investors fail to see. True power lies not in owning assets, but in controlling the structures that dictate wealth flows. If you want to follow this strategy, you must begin thinking beyond tangible assets. Focus on understanding the financial systems that govern the world and seek to influence those systems to create your own source of wealth. The truth is, most people are so busy trying to accumulate assets that they never realize the importance of controlling the financial system like the Rothschilds did. At its core, this rule reveals the essence of the Rothschild strategy. They didn't just seek wealth, they built a system that would make them increasingly wealthy, even in times of crisis. Finance, both sides of every war. For the Rothschilds, war equals profit. They understood that during wartime, nations need money, and that's exactly what they offered. They financed both sides of a conflict. During the World Wars, for example, the Rothschilds financed both the Axis and the Allies, ensuring that no matter who won, they made a profit. When nations were on the brink of bankruptcy, their fortune only grew. And in some cases, they used that financial power to bring down monarchs and seize their assets. The strategy of financing both sides of a conflict is what the Rothschilds call offering a helping hand to all parties in the dispute. It doesn't matter who wins. Either way, they were ready to collect their payment. During the Napoleonic Wars, for example, they financed both the British and the French armies. This guaranteed them a strong financial position, regardless of who emerged victorious. This behavior wasn't limited to past wars like the World Wars. In modern times, the strategy continues to repeat itself. During the 2008 financial crisis, while billions of dollars were lost by millions of citizens, the Rothschilds aggressively acquired companies and assets, buying up properties being liquidated at low prices. The war that happens in financial markets is just another version of the same game they played in military wars: finance both sides and walk away with the winnings. The formula is simple. When there's a crisis, military or financial, there's an opportunity to buy assets at extremely low prices. And again, the secret lies in having the financial control to do so while others suffer from the consequences of the crisis. What most people don't realize is that the Rothschilds are masters at manipulating moments of crisis to turn losses into profit. They didn't just survive those crises, they They used the chaos to further expand their empire. When countries were on the verge of bankruptcy, the Rothschilds were there, ready to offer their loans, while at the same time acquiring essential assets that later became even more valuable. They knew that even in times of war and crisis, wealth can be created with the right strategy. And so, over generations, the Rothschild family has demonstrated a level of cunning that few can match. They understood that in times of war and crisis, the real opportunity to make money lies in being in control of the financing, while the world around them falls apart. Marry into financial royalty. The Rothschilds have always known that true power comes from aligning with other banking dynasties, not from marrying for love. The family has a habit of joining forces with other powerful financial families, like the Warburgs and the Sassoons. This ensures that money and power never leave the family. In fact, more than 60% of Rothschild heirs still work in banks or governments, perpetuating their grip on global finance. Family alliances are key to ensuring that financial power stays within the circle. For the Rothschilds, this network of familial and financial alliances is one of the pillars of their empire. Marrying into other members of the financial elite is not a matter of love or compatibility. It's a calculated move to keep resources and power within a tight, exclusive circle. They've married into families with similar interests, reinforcing their positions of power and ensuring that wealth never leaks out. These family alliances are not just a footnote in Rothschild history. They are a fundamental strategy that ensures the continuity of the financial empire from generation to generation. Today, more than 60% of Rothschild heirs still work in financial institutions or political roles, meaning control over money and power is always passed forward within the family. But what becomes clear is that these marriages are not about building a social network. They're about building a web of influence that allows the Rothschild family to continue dominating global finance and geopolitics. Behind every union is the desire to consolidate control, protect wealth, and ensure that future generations inherit not just money, but a financial empire. The Rothschilds understand that the key to true wealth and power is discretion. They never show themselves publicly. They remain almost invisible. In 1990, for example, they disappeared from the Forbes lists, and their images rarely appear in the media. They prefer to live in castles far from the spotlight, quietly running businesses and financial empires through discrete entities like RIT Capital Partners. They know the real secret to success is operating in the shadows, away from public view. Over the years, the Rothschild family has become masters of discretion. They understood that by maintaining a low profile, they could run their businesses without worrying about public scrutiny. This has given them the freedom to act and negotiate without their moves being constantly tracked. Furthermore, the Rothschilds are experts in using shell companies and foundations to keep their financial power out of reach. One of the most well-known RIT Capital Partners is a perfect example of how they operate in the dark. Through entities like this, the Rothschilds continue to control vast portions of global finance without ever stepping into the public eye. This rule reveals one of the family's greatest secrets. Power lies in what you don't see. They know that the less you know about what they're doing, the easier it is to maintain control and grow their empire without interference. And this strategy of remaining invisible is, without a doubt, one of the cornerstones of their success. The true power network of the Rothschilds lies in their ability to cultivate relationships with politicians around the world. They understood that a useful politician is worth more than gold or stocks. Disraeli, Bismarck, even JFK had ties to the Rothschilds, and this network of influence is what keeps the family at the top. Political connections are far more valuable than social alliances or personal friendships. Leaked documents even revealed that up to 78 European politicians were being advised by Rothschild family banks. The Rothschilds have always known that maintaining power and wealth requires political allies. That's why they've never hesitated to build relationships with world leaders. With the help of politicians, they've been able to shape economic policies that serve their financial interests. Through these relationships, the Rothschilds gained access to privileged information and influenced political decisions that shaped the future of financial markets. This allowed them to thrive even in unstable environments, always maintaining control and the upper hand. But what's most intriguing is that this network of political influence isn't a relic of the past. Even today, the Rothschild name is associated with high-level political figures worldwide. By keeping these connections alive, they continue to be a force behind the economic decisions that shape our future. The Rothschilds follow a simple formula. When the world goes into crisis, they buy. During the 2008 financial crash, while millions of people lost their homes and businesses, the Rothschilds aggressively acquired companies and assets, buying up properties that were being liquidated at bargain prices. The war in financial markets is just another version of the same game they played in military wars: fund both sides and win. If you study financial crises throughout history, you'll see the Rothschilds did remarkably well in every single one. When the world's economies collapsed, the Rothschilds were there, buying essential assets, land and property for pennies on the dollar. They understood something fundamental. Crises are just opportunities in disguise. While the world panicked, they watched and waited for the perfect moment to strike. That's one of the family's greatest secrets. They know that in times of crisis, the best wealth-building opportunities arise. They buy when others are selling, and that's how they lock in dominance. Even during the global pandemic, while thousands of companies were shutting down, the Rothschilds were acquiring private hospitals and healthcare assets across Europe. They understand that when markets panic, prices fall, and that's when they move in to secure even more power and wealth. While the children of millionaires flaunt yachts, parties and luxury cars on social media, Rothschild heirs operate in silence. They're not raised to spend, they're raised to expand. From childhood they learn that money isn't a prize, it's a seed, and every wasted cent is a future empire that won't exist. Unlike dynasties like the Vanderbilts or Carnegies, who watched their fortunes vanish in just a few generations, the Rothschilds implemented a strict code of capital preservation. That means heirs are trained from a young age to think like bankers, not celebrities. No purchase is made for status. Everything is strategy. Jacob Rothschild is a living example of this mindset. In the 1990s, he turned a $1 billion fortune into more than $5 billion, not through crypto or risky bets, but through land, energy and pharmaceutical investments. Sectors that remain profitable under any economic scenario. Sectors that shape the world. The family's philosophy is clear. Wealth isn't for spending, it's for multiplying. They religiously follow the rule of constant reinvestment. Every income stream is funneled back into strategic businesses, protected assets and political influence. And when profits arrive, they're reinvested again. It's a never-ending cycle with no leaks. What's impressive isn't just the discipline, it's the consistency. In over 200 years, the Rothschilds have never broken this tradition. Every generation of heirs receives banking education, geopolitical training, and access to a global information network. They don't just maintain the empire, they quietly expand it. While modern heirs post their Rolexes on Instagram, the Rothschild descendants are buying energy companies in Africa, farmland in Latin America, and shares in emerging AI firms. All under the cover of discreet funds and family holdings. Their secret? They don't think like consumers, they think like sovereigns. They never ask, how much does it cost? They ask, how much does it yield? That mindset keeps them far from bankruptcy and close to financial immortality. They also have internal councils that regulate investment decisions among heirs. No one is allowed to drain the family fortune with extravagance. There's a culture of honor and legacy protection. Personal vanity never outweighs the preservation of the Rothschild name. This mindset is so deeply rooted that any heir who disobeys or acts outside the rules simply vanishes from the family's story. They're not punished publicly, they're erased from the financial bloodline. The empire does not tolerate threats to centuries of strategy. The empire is closed. You can have millions, study at Harvard, dominate financial markets, but you'll never get in. The Rothschild empire is a closed circle, and that's not just a metaphor, it's a hermetic system designed to protect the secrets behind the most discreet fortune in history. Access to the family's wealth is limited by blood, strategic marriage and trust. Every bond is vetted. No alliance is spontaneous. The Rothschilds don't trust outsiders. Every partner is assessed like an acquisition, because at its core, that's exactly what it is. This exclusivity began in the 19th century when the family decided the Rothschild name should be more than a lineage. It should be an institution. To do that, they created internal protocols, documents outlining who to marry, where to study, and which sectors to invest in. Unlike public dynasties that go public and sell shares, the Rothschilds do the opposite. They lock their assets in family holdings, protected by trusts and foundations in tax havens. Everything is shielded. No curious eyes, no auditors allowed. They learned that the secret isn't just protecting the money, but hiding its origin, its destination, and its strategy. Invisibility is their main defense against the system. The less the world knows about what they own, the more control they have, and the more invisible they are, the more powerful. Even their investments are fragmented across companies with unrecognizable names. Nothing leads directly back to Rothschild. Their castles, banks, and lands all are owned by legal entities created solely for that purpose. It's like a labyrinth. Only they know the way out. Those who've tried to get in were quietly denied. There are no open doors, no invitations. The empire is closed by design because it was built to last centuries, not to impress on social media. Any leak is an existential risk. Unlike today's billionaires chasing public influence, the Rothschilds operate like ghosts. They sit on boards, banks, and political institutions, but never in the spotlight. The system was designed so the empire functions without needing a face. This strategic isolation also protects the family from crises, cancel culture, investigations, and political shifts. They don't risk public backlash because they don't have a public image. Their power lies where no one sees, in the silent decisions that move trillions. And so the empire remains untouchable, inaccessible, invisible. Because the world's greatest empires are not built on visibility, they are built on silence. The game is locked for you. Now that you've learned the rules, you might be wondering, if I follow them, can I get there too? The answer, unfortunately, is no. Because the game the Rothschilds play isn't available to the public. It's a board where the pieces were placed centuries ago. They don't just dominate the game, they created the game. The rules that benefit the global financial system were shaped by them, or by allies who think exactly like them. You think you have options, but everything was designed to keep you out. The bank where you deposit your money? It follows guidelines the Rothschilds helped write. The interest rate on your mortgage? Controlled by systems shaped by institutions they influenced. The game is locked, and you never even knew. For centuries, the family's greatest achievement has been making the world believe that everyone can be rich, that everyone has a fair shot. But behind that motivational speech is a brutal truth. Access to the financial elite is sealed by invisible doors. Sure, you can try to follow the same strategies, reinvest, think long-term, stay discreet, and yes, that might improve your life. But it will never put you on their level, because what separates the Rothschilds isn't what they do, it's where they are. They're not in the system, they are the system. They created central banks, shaped economic treaties, influenced entire governments. When you pay taxes, buy stocks, or lose money in a crash, you're just feeding a game that already has an owner. And if you ever get too close, you'll see how the system shuts down. Access to capital denied, strategic partnerships blocked, insider information out of reach, because this game was designed so only a few win, and those few were born inside the arena. The truth is, the myth of meritocracy exists only to keep others busy. While you're climbing ladders, they're drawing the next maze. And even if you make it to the top, you'll find that the top is just the start of another pyramid. So if the game is locked, what's left for you? Knowledge. Understanding that real freedom isn't about trying to be like them, but about playing a different game. One you can create, control, and reinvent on your own terms. Because the only thing more dangerous than following the Rothschilds' rules is believing you can beat them by playing the same game. What's hidden is worth more than what's shown. You've just spent the last few minutes diving into one of the most hidden stories of global power. This isn't about conspiracy theories, it's about silent facts. Rules never taught in school, strategies written in vaults, not in books. The Rothschilds didn't get rich by accident, they followed a forbidden manual. And the most shocking part is you never had access to it. Not because you didn't search, but because it was made to never be found. While the world chases magical formulas, this family writes the invisible laws of wealth. They're not in the headlines, they're behind them. They don't rule with noise, they rule with silence. And the less you know, the more vulnerable you are. This video wasn't made to entertain you, it was made to wake you up. You're stuck in a game where the winners were born with the right pieces. But now that you've seen the whole board, what will you do with it? Most people will forget. Scroll down, watch the next video, but a very few, will begin to see. They'll understand there's another path, not to try to be a Rothschild, but to stop being a pawn. And for those few, this channel exists. Here at Invisible Millionaires, we don't tell stories, we reveal systems, exposing the backstage of money, power, brands, and empires that shape the world, even when no one talks about them. If you feel like something big is being hidden from you, then you're in the right place. And if this video made you think differently, then subscribe now, because the next episode might reveal exactly what no one wants you to discover. After all, what's hidden is worth more than what's shown.